Hello and welcome to Racers Now. We've got a big weekend coming up Saturday, the 27th of July. We've got some big action from York, but even bigger action at Ascot. Then we're rolling into Goodwood as well, where we'll have more content as well next week. But there is some interesting anti-post bets to be had this weekend, SD. And what are you? We've covered the King George on a separate video. So what we've got to look forward to on Saturday away from the big...
Oh, we've lots to look forward to. Good evening, everyone. From what did someone call me a bore last week? Well, this bloody bore picked a 16-1 winner. So to you who commented on the YouTube channel, kindly fuck off. Right, we'll crack on. So what do we have? We've got the dash at York. I think probably the chief supporting race. It's a fascinating race, the York Stakes. I don't believe it should exist, by the way. We'll go into that later. We've got a good 7 furlong handicap at Ascot, the International. There's a Group 3 at Ascot. There's no prices up, but just remind me to touch on the Winkfield Stakes later on, because there could be a very, very good horse in the Winkfield Stakes. And for all you Geordie ladies, of course, it's Ladies' Day at Newcastle.
Absolutely, the feature meeting of the weekend at Newcastle. This York Stakes is a bit of a prelude for the Juddmonte International, which is over course and distance in about 3 weeks' time. This is a cracker. This is an absolute cracker if they run. 10 declared at the moment. I'll just pick 2 or 3 out. Alflaila, who I've already put up for the Juddmonte a couple of weeks ago, 25-1. We've got JRB in there that won at Royal Ascot. King's Gambit, who was second behind him at Royal Ascot. Passenger, who we've not seen since, was very impressive at Chester, has since missed Royal Ascot and the Coral Eclipse, the typical Sir Michael Stout older horse. That one's really interesting. And Royal Rhyme as well, that many of us will know, won earlier in the year at that good Sandown Thursday evening cod. So that looks a cracker. Have you got a bet in that one, SD?
Yeah. I think the first thing is with Passenger, he's been more fragile than Joe Biden, unfortunately. He hasn't been seen since he won at Chester this year. And look, he beat Israel. You can't crab it, but Stout's hardly on fire. I mean, it smacks to me like they're going to try and run, but I'm not sure that he may well run. But he's clearly had problems, and I wouldn't be totally convinced by him. I tend to treat Chester form with a bit of a pinch of salt. I thought the most likely winner in the race by some margin was Alflaila. I think this race is made for him. He won it last year, so we know he goes around York. We know Passenger goes around York on his Ante form last year, but certainly that fourth in the Prince of Wales's, to me, is cast iron form. Group 1 back down to Group 2. Jim, we say it every week. Don't muck it up. Not your finest hour at Newbury on Saturday. Just to go into some others in the race, King's Gambit. There's this school of thought, and you're a sucker for this, that he should have basically won by some sort of hack canter at Ascot. He wasn't that unlucky. He was not that unlucky. The form of the race is, well, it's not great, is it? I just think King's Gambit is or there is a danger that he will become a talking horse. Interestingly, Callum Shepherd's jocked up for that. Callum, great jockey. Why on earth they made that decision on Ambient Friendly, nobody knows. I'd imagine Almacar might need a bit of rain to run. Alma Beer, of course, won the Gala at Sandown. I wouldn't think he'd be good enough. But I just think there is a distinct class edge with this Alflaila, and I think he'll win.
I do like Alflaila. I think King's Gambit's a big danger. I think he's a danger to the market, because I think he'll be the one that everyone latches onto, as SD alluded to. And I think he's actually, where I disagree with SD, I think he's a danger to winning the race. Passenger, you can imagine these lot saying at 3:25 on Saturday after the race is finished, well, The main aim is the Juddmonte International, and if we wanted to run there, we had to get a run into him beforehand, and I think that's how this one will pan out. I think SD is along those same lines as well. I do like Alflaila. He won this year. Fair enough. He doesn't represent a betting prospect for me at the moment because if King's Gambit does stand the ground, I think I can see his price getting shorter and possibly Alflaila's getting longer. That's how I see it at the moment.
I'll put him up as a bet at 11-4. I think that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, I will amend that price. Sorry, because
and at York on Saturday, of course, Mick Walsh will be there. New Age of Pens, extra bright orange.
Oh well, I've not got one of them. Although
absolutely lovely.
Although I have to tread very, very carefully here, SD. But friend of the channel, Mick Walsh, brought about my first ever, inadvertently, Mick Walsh. He wouldn't have known my employment status. SD does, but he's going to stay quiet for the time being. Mick Walsh brought about my first ever professional and personal clash, i.e., where racers now clashed with my professional life. I will divulge more in private, SD. But yeah, courtesy of Mick Walsh. So thanks for that, Mick. But I do love the calendar, and I want some of them new pens like what SD's got. He looks very happy there, doesn't he, with his 14-year-old haircut and his new pen, SD. Thank you.
Very, very happy. Mick Walsh, terrible technical problems at Ripon with the Wi-Fi. Henry didn't know what to do. Junior Henry didn't know what to do. Honestly, he was in a fluster at Ripon. I think he probably just about scraped through on the day with his 3 pitches. It was like the Bermuda Triangle. Your money just went into a useless bloody sack in the middle of it.
Right. Also, York on Saturday, race number 2 is the Sky Bet Dash Handicap. I don't know why SD is betting anti-post on this race, but fair play to him. 6 furlongs, says what it is on the tin. Dash. What's the fancy?
Well, let me just tell you why this race shouldn't exist.
Well, you said that about the first race.
I don't think the meters should exist, but there are a series of 6 furlong handicaps in the calendar, a la Stewards Cup. There's a 7 furlong race. There's also a 5 furlong race at Ascot. There's the Great St. Wilfrid, and this just, I've never thought this race is necessary or has any prestige. It's a bit of a bob brush race, but nevertheless,
it's just the type of race that will fill. Basically, at York, and you could stage this on any day of the year.
But a lot of these are double entered. I think that's your starting point, and I'm probably working on the basis of good to firm ground. Now, Radio Goo Goo ran as well as she's ever done last time at Newmarket. She's really running well. She has won here before. And I think a mark of 90 is not beyond her. She won at Chester the time before that. She's a pacey little thing. York suits her. She isn't double entered, which I think is critical. If you look at some of the market leaders in this, like Wood Hay Wonder, I've no idea if they're going to run or not. Wood Hay Wonder's in a 5 furlong handicap at Ascot the same day. Trefoil's in the Stewards Cup next week, so that's probably unfair. But I thought there were a few in him. I think Minella Scouse needs softer ground. 2 Tribes is also in that 5 furlong handicap at Ascot. There's just a chance that this race becomes a little bit less competitive than you think it might be. So on that basis and on the form book, I thought Radio Goo Goo was a perfectly good bet at 14.
Right, good, very good case made there, SD. I do like the double entered or not double entered angle that you've got as well. Right, we're going back to Ascot. Like I say, the King George previewed in full on a separate video. This is an anti-post look at the big handicap of the weekend, or particularly the big handicap at Ascot, which is called the International Stakes. I don't know why, because it's a handicap. Why? Anyway, Moet and Sandown International Stakes. 7 furlongs. There are plenty of races like this at Ascot over the season. Victoria Cup, etc., etc. What's the thinking? Plenty of familiar names in here, SD.
Plenty of familiar names. Plenty of old favourites. I think the first point is that Wizard of Eye is no more than even money to make the race, according to Charlie Fellows, because he's got a bruised foot. Hardly the ideal prep for a race like this, is it? Look, he's handicapped to him, but you've got to take out the horse is 5-1 at the moment. I mean, he might be a little bit bigger in some places, but when you've got a fab who's got a big question mark hanging over his head, you've got to take him on. I had a good look at this earlier. I think this new image for O'Meara, who does like winning these races at Ascot, I think he's improving at the right time. Ran very well last time at York, where I think his run style is going to be suited to Ascot. He was probably too far back last time at York. Won really well at Musselburgh the time before. I don't think a mark of 89 is behind him. This will only be his 9th career start, and I thought 20-1 was far too big.
14.
Pardon?
14.
He's 20 on Oddschecker.
Right. Okay. We'll have a rethink.
Anyway, so I thought 20-1 was far too big. The other one to back in the race,
20-1 is correct.
Yes, I knew it was.
I could have predicted this one. No, I do know in advance, don't get me wrong, but I could have predicted this one. This horse, SD, loves him. He's an old boy now. He's nearly old enough to play the lottery, and he loves the straight course at Royal Ascot, and Jamie Spencer might ride, and he's one of the perfect horses for Jamie Spencer, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Bless him.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I remember 7 years ago backing him when I think he won the Britannia. Honestly, he's running remarkably well, and I think 7 furlongs these days he's probably his trip. He of course won the Bunbury Cup a couple of years ago off a mark of 101. He's nicely back down now to late 90s, and he ran perfectly well in the Bunbury Cup last time when he was 8.
Imagine saying that about a horse, right? A flat horse that's running in a good handicap. I remember backing this thing 7 years ago. I'm meaning it because he does mean it.
I remember. I think I takes you in a height of excitement.
Arousal.
So, look, bless him. He still has the ability to be competitive, and I just think double carpet. There's a few of these. This race again might not fill. That a few of them do have other entries, etc., etc. It probably will, but I think this is probably his last chance at a big pot. It would be nice, if he won, just retire him.
He's not won for over 2 years.
He's been a fantastic servant.
It's four wins from 44 runs. But as SD said, yeah.
I think I've been on him twice in those 44 runs. I probably backed him 40 of them. But I haven't backed him at all this year because I was sort of going towards the thing of he's gone. But, he was, you could grab him all you want, but he was 3rd in the Victoria Cup here.
Yeah.
And he's off a very similar mark. And if the forecast is right, and if Chris, if you're watching, don't water.
He's already put 10 mil on today.
If Chris keeps the taps off midweek, rattling fast ground, 7 furlongs, Bob's your rental, Fanny's your aunt.
Yep, good. Is that it, SD? I think that might be it.
Well, it is it, but I just want to give a bit of a shout for one on Saturday. It may not even be priced on Thursday, but this horse should go off clear favourite if it runs. I was very excited by this horse, and I don't really get excited about 2-year-olds. I think the last one I got really excited about was Blue Point. That was about 10 years ago. And I think this might have been the race. Well, it wasn't 10, it was 6 or 7. This might have been in the race that Blue Point actually won at Doncaster. Chancellor won.
Oh, yeah.
Really quite well at Doncaster. The form is, well, the clock doesn't lie, and the clock tells you that he did a quicker time than the horse that won the novice stakes in the next, who's got a rating of 77. As a 2-year-old, that really is quite remarkable. I think he could be very, 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 very good. And I'd expect him to win this and be a group horse in the making. I've no idea what price he'll be. It'll be very interesting. But he's certainly one for your notepad, and just watch him on Saturday. So Chancellor, not Rachel Reeves, the horse.
No, that's usually a good race. Was that the one that was won by Rosalien last year, if I remember rightly? And there was some other good horses in there.
It's the Pat Edery,
Yeah,
Stakes, the Wingfield. Yeah, I think
yeah.
he'll
Although,
win.
yeah, it'd be interesting runner. I do like, Rosalien, Naval Power, Chindit, etc. I do like. There's another horse entered in there, a Godolphin one, Al Quadra. I thought he was the one to take out of what turned out to be a chaotic Coventry stakes at Royal Ascot. This Al Quadra was slightly hampered as well. Ran on as well as anything. Might be underestimated next time. I.e., he's a Godolphin horse that didn't win last time as a juvenile. So I thought it'd be interesting. But yeah,
£20 match bet, sir, on those two.
no, no, absolutely
Oh,
not.
I
Thank you
wonder
very
why.
much. Well, I'll wait for Dex and I might revisit that. But yeah, Chancellor was very, very impressive at Doncaster. That was on the 11th.
Yes, Chancellor can bring the cash home. Wouldn't it be nice?
Absolutely. You can do a favour for the civil servants. Right, good. Yeah, all good. Plenty covered here, as always, on Races Now. We'll be back Thursday and hopefully next week live, at least one night, maybe two, from Goodwood, in person, me and SD. And there might be a beer or two involved, which is very dangerous when it comes to myself. Any closing comments there, SD?
No, it's a nice weekend to look forward to. I'm not racing on Saturday. I'm on the Ale Trail. I'll be at Ponte Carlo Sunday. And Wolverhampton tomorrow, Britain's friendliest racecourse.
Oh, that's pushing it. Right, thank you, bye.